All right, here we are today, TaylorMade launch event. I'm here with Matt Bovee. And Matt, every time we get together, we could talk about some irons. And today, the irons that we have in your hand here, they may look cosmetically maybe a little familiar to people, but under the hood, there's a whole lot going on.
Yes, sir.
So let's take a look at the QI irons because there's a ton that's exciting about them. So let's talk about kind of where do we start? I mean, we had a stealth iron did really, really well, had a lot of technology in that. You guys had a lot of kind of pushes and or advancements. Now you moved to QI. What was kind of that process of getting to this next iron?
Well, I mean, look, we learn from every iron that we launch, and we build on the innovation, on that technology, and that's really how we get to the QI iron. And there's a lot happening in here. You mentioned some similarities. It's beautiful from the outside, sticking with the monochromatic, more aspirational sort of look. So it's got a serious tone to it, but there's a lot of forgiveness, a lot of distance built in these. And the theme for 2024 with the QI iron is straight distance.
Yep.
And we can get into that. There's a couple technologies that deliver that, but really we set out to make these the most accurate game improvement irons on the market.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you talk about, when we first talked about them, the biggest thing, or I think technology-wise, is the face. Brand new face, kind of a new construction. And it was a kind of a problem that you guys kind of saw through research and development. And I think a lot of us think about, you hear about these fast faces and everything's, all kind of distance, but you guys kind of need to control that distance a little more for that accuracy.
Yes.
And I think a lot of us don't put those two things together. It's like fast face and then do something else to make them forgiving or accurate. You guys are kind of not two birds with one stone, but you guys are kind of found that helping that face kind of helps distance or accuracy as well.
Yeah, for sure. So with great speed comes great responsibility.
Love it.
Some might say. Look, what happens anytime you have a very fast face, a flexible face, the way that the face rebounds at the point of impact is unique for irons because irons are asymmetric. Yep. And we really took a deep dive into that to ensure that we can control the way the ball comes off the club face, because this is something not many people know. It's not something that a lot of people talk about. But the fast face irons, unless you specifically design a technology to prevent it, will come off the face with cut spin.
Which is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would have never thought that.
And it has to do with the face, the way the face wants to rebound. So the toe span taller than the heel, and the longer that span is, the more flexible it is, right? So the toe side flexes more at impact than the heel. The heel wants to rebound first, and if you imagine that heel rebounding faster than the toe, that's where you get this cut spin coming off. Now, where do game improvement iron players, or all players, what's the miss that they typically struggle with?
Typically a fade or a slice.
Exactly. So why would you ever compound the problem, specifically for players looking for as much forgiveness as possible? So again, we want to take that variable out. We want to minimize the right miss as much as we can and make these straight throughout the entire set. So that's really the mission with QI irons, straight distance from the bag top to bottom. So these can be your most consistent, most accurate game improvement irons in the market.
And it wasn't like you just took like a 7-iron and just said, oh, how do we fix it here? Every single iron has a different kind of, you went through and kind of modeled where strikes on these faces were. And each iron has its own properties, its own design to ensure that, because the way you strike a 7-iron is a little different than the way you strike the 4-iron.
Yep.
So each head has a different kind of face in a sense to control that spin.
It's more than just the face. Honestly, it's the entire body. So we're building off of what we've debuted in 790 in this individual head optimization process, and we brought that into the core game improvement iron for the first time. So it's the face interacting with the speed pocket. There's a brand new speed pocket in the long irons. Those two things work together to give you higher launch in the long irons, as well as that straight distance. And then as you migrate more toward the middle of the set, like we'll use a 7-iron, for example, completely different face geometry, which is really designed to maximize that sweet spot and build consistency, really give you ball speed, large amount of forgiveness. And then when you work into the short irons, that face thickness changes again because we want to control the ball flight and add more spin so that you have, again, that control. And these are your scoring clubs. You want to be able to attack pins, hold greens. So you just have to think about each one differently. And it's not an easy thing to do, but that's really where we're at when it comes to iron technology. And we want to give golfers irons that are designed for that unique purpose in the bag. To your point, you don't hit a 4-iron the way you hit a 7, the way you hit a wedge. You have to think about each one individually if you're gonna do it right.
Yep. And then also too, I mean, you can pack all that technology into it. If they don't feel and sound good,
that's right.
Then players aren't going to want to play them. And these, I've had the privilege of hitting them. They do sound and feel good.
Thank you.
But we've got some magic sauce inside as well that you don't see. that enhances sound and feel as well.
I mean, so there's different ways that we tune the frequency, and we all know at this point that sound is feel. So the structure inside the top line, where we support that, but also the echo damping system, which lives inside this hollow body construction, means multiple contact points across the face, from the heel to the toe. So whether you hit it in the center or you mishit it a little bit, you're gonna damp out those vibrations and give you that soft yet solid feel. Even though, again, this is like the fastest iron face we have.
Yep.
So pretty incredible. Wrap that in a chrome plated package, which I think is just beautiful. It's a great change. So a lot of tech, and then there's two ways to really get there. And again, we should talk about loft fitting more for players, but there's the QI iron. That's gonna be our longest iron, fastest ball speed in the portfolio. And we have the QI HL, HL standing for higher and lighter. So a lighter club mass, lighter head, lighter shaft, lighter grip. Overall package is noticeably lighter and 2 degrees weaker. So it's got really a design that's going to promote more club head speed and higher launch, which a lot of players can benefit from.
Yeah, I mean, I actually hit both up on the range here just a little bit ago, and it was amazing because when you say HL, everybody just thinks, oh, high launch. Both of them are extremely easy to elevate, and both of them are very fast. I was hitting the 4-iron off the tee, and it goes forever, which is pretty crazy. But again, they sound and feel good, they look good. It's just overall a really good package, and I love the kind of carbon fiber accents on the back. It just gives it that little pop.
A little bit of technical elegance.
Exactly. You know, with these QI irons, there is something a little different with CG throughout the set, and a little bit of shaping as well. So let's discuss a little bit about CG. Why do we need to change CG in irons?
Well, if I'm going to ask you this, low CG gives you what?
Higher ball flight.
Higher ball flight. Which irons do you struggle getting in the air the most?
Long irons.
So your long iron should probably have the lowest CG, right?
That makes sense.
It's not a common attribute in a long iron, and we have the flighted CG, not just in the QI irons. It is in the Q irons. It's debuting there for the first time in our core game improvement products, but it's also in P790 as well. But again, the concept here goes back to the individual head optimization and how you hit each club. You want help launching that long iron, make it easier to play. And in the short irons, we strategically start to position that CG higher and higher in the club face to really bring that flight down and add spin into your scoring clubs. So in addition to the flighted CG, we have some other shaping changes here that's driving more forgiveness. So we have a new sole geometry in the long and mid irons. It gets the leading edge a little bit lower to the ground. That's going to, again, help you launch the ball in the air. Again, individual club optimization. And we also have a little bit longer blade length. That makes it more stable. These are more forgiving than Stealth. Stealth was an incredible iron, but more forgiving with a 14% larger sweet spot. Really what that means for golfers is you're going to hit your numbers more often. There's more consistency there. And really that's what these irons is all about. More successful shots more often.
And I feel like 14% is a lot when you look at, and you know, from iron to iron, that's a big change. I mean, I know a lot of people look at changes in golf clubs and they look at these little percentages. 14% on something that size is pretty significant.
Oh, absolutely. And then you think about how that compounds year on year, and that the average golfer is replacing their irons every 5 to 6 years. Those changes add up to where you see massive differences when you come in with a product that's in the 5 to 6 year old like sort of range.
Yeah, no, it's impressive when you kind of have that graphic and all that. It's when you can visualize it, it's pretty impressive. So those are the brand new QI irons from TaylorMade. Go to TaylorMadeGolf.com, check out more, but they're definitely worth hitting if you're looking for new irons. Matt, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, my friend.